Episode 1: Why We See Different Movies. Two friends walk out of the same movie theater. They've just watched identical images, heard identical dialogue, followed identical stories for 2 hours. But somehow, they've watched completely different films. Sarah turns to her friend, eyes bright with excitement. "That was brilliant," she says, quietly devastating. The kind of restraint that stays with you for days. Her friend Mike shakes his head. "Are you serious? That was the most boring 2 hours of my life. Self-important, slow, a complete waste of time. Same movie, same seats, same story. And yet, in some meaningful sense, they experience two entirely different films. This happens constantly, and not just at the movies." Meet Alice and Bob. They're sitting in the same conference room, staring at the same quarterly performance dashboard. The data is identical. Customer acquisition up 23%. But support ticket volume climbing and resolution times lagging behind targets. Alice, the product lead, sees a clear signal. "This is our moment," she says. "We need to accelerate the feature launch to capitalize on this momentum." Bob, the engineering director, sees warning signs. "We need to pump the brakes," he argues. "These support metrics are telling us to slow down and fix our technical debt before something critical breaks." Both are smart, experienced professionals. Both have access to identical metrics. Both make compelling cases backed by solid reasoning. And both are completely convinced the other person is missing something obvious. Sound familiar? This scenario plays out in conference rooms everywhere, every day. And our usual response is to treat it as a problem of accuracy. Someone must be reading the data wrong. Someone isn't seeing the big picture. The meeting becomes a battle of evidence and expertise, with each side trying to prove their interpretation is correct. But what if the disagreement isn't about the data at all? Here's what neuroscience is discovering about how your brain actually works. And it's not what most of us assume. You think you're passively receiving information and delivering objective analysis. You think your eyes capture reality, your brain processes it, and you experience what's actually there. It feels like you're looking through a transparent window at the world. You're not. What's actually happening is far stranger and more active. At every moment, your brain is generating a prediction about what the world should look like based on your past experience, your expectations, your current mood, what you're paying attention to. Then it compares that prediction to the sensory information streaming in from your eyes and ears. What you actually experience consciously is not the raw data. It's your brain's best current guess, heavily influenced by what it expected to find. Most of the time, this works so smoothly you never notice. Your brain's predictions are usually close enough to reality that the construction feels like direct perception, but it's construction all the way down. The evidence is everywhere once you know where to look. Optical illusions work because they exploit this prediction machinery. The same room feels different when you're anxious versus when you're happy, even though nothing about the room has changed. Two people can walk out of the same meeting with completely different memories of what was said, because their brains were running different predictions, attending to different signals, filling in different gaps. Your brain has to work this way. Sensory information is too slow, too ambiguous, too incomplete for raw perception to be viable. If your brain waited for complete information before generating experience, you'd be hopelessly behind the world. So it predicts. It fills in. It constructs. The experience you live inside is the output of that construction process, not the raw material feeding into it. Which brings us back to Alice and Bob. When they look at those quarterly numbers, they're not just seeing data. Their brains are actively constructing their experience of what that data means, filtered through the unique prediction machinery each of them has developed over their careers. Alice's brain, shaped by her particular history of experiences and training, is highlighting patterns that suggest market opportunity. Bob's brain, configured by his different background, is amplifying signals that indicate operational risk. Neither is wrong. They're different. And this difference runs deeper than you might imagine. Because humans share roughly 99.9% identical neural architecture. That's why Alice and Bob can both read spreadsheets, follow logical arguments, and coordinate complex work. But that remaining 0.1% represents something profound. The accumulated differences in how their brains got configured through years of different experiences, different problems they learned to solve, different patterns they trained themselves to recognize. When smart teams disagree, you're often not witnessing analytical failure. You're seeing cognitive diversity in action. You're watching different prediction machines encounter the same information and construct different interpretations of what it means. But here's what's fascinating. If this is true, then most of our disagreements aren't really about accuracy at all. They're about something much more interesting. They're about the architecture of understanding itself. So how do these prediction machines actually get built? What shapes one brain to see opportunities while another sees risks? And why does this 0.1% difference matter so much? To answer that, we need to look deeper into the brain itself.